How to move up the ladder on a coach's ranking. This is the Athletic Scholarship Podcast, episode number 80. Welcome to the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. I'm Jon Fugler, athletic scholarship coach and a dad of 2 scholarship athletes. I'm also the CEO of Recruit Me, a podcaster, author, and speaker. Our sponsor is my new book, The Athletic Scholarship Playbook, a complete college recruiting roadmap for high school athletes and parents. It's available on Amazon, of course, and right now it's on sale on Amazon. This podcast is 15 minutes that will change your scholarship future. So I dig in and give you takeaways you can use immediately. You can find every episode on my website at recruitme.com, but it's easier on an app, the Apple Podcast app, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeart, and others. If you have questions, please email me, john@recruitme.com. I love to answer questions. I have a free chapter from my book, The Athletic Scholarship Playbook, available for immediate download as a PDF. You can go to my website, recruitme.com. You'll see it right there on the homepage. And you'll also notice that this month, I've got the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship System at a reduced price, getting January off, the year off to a good start and helping you out in that way. It's worth checking out at recruitme.com. Well, how to move up the ladder on a coach's ranking. You're on their radar. They have contacted you. You know there is a conversation going on. You're not exactly sure maybe what they think of you. That's one scenario. Maybe you've got another scenario that this relationship you have with a coach is beginning to heat up, that you are indeed a recruit that they're very interested in. You had some phone conversations, you've exchanged emails, maybe you even gone to the school to have a visit, but you are really a high prospect on their roster of recruited athletes. But it's not over yet. It ain't over until the fat lady sings, as they say, and it ain't over until the offer comes in. You may think you're doing well, and then all of a sudden the communication stops. We had that happen with a few coaches. It's pretty common. It's like, what happened? Did they forget that we're here? Did they forget my son or daughter exists? They were interested, and now they're not. And there are things that I will share with you in this episode that will help prevent that from happening. You're not going to get a 100% success rate, but it will help prevent that from happening as a rule. This whole recruiting process can be really messy. You may have discovered that already. It's because it involves people. It involves you as a person, as a parent, as your athlete as a person. The coach is coaching staff. There's a lot of people involved in the recruiting process. And when it comes to relationships and people, a lot of things can happen. It can be really, really messy. I teach a step-by-step approach, and it's not like this is the step-by-step and there'll be no problems or surprises along the way. That's not true. There are surprises along the way. There are disappointments. There are great surprises from a good standpoint. But from this step-by-step process, it can be really messy as well. So I want to preclude that. That way, you know that if a coach stops contacting your son or daughter for some reason you don't understand why, just let you know this happens. But there are things you can do to prevent that. The number one thing that you can do is communication. Communication is key in the whole recruiting process. You want a coach to communicate with you clearly, right? Well, these coaches want you to communicate with them. You, on your plate, have a number of schools that you're seeking to be recruited from. On their plate, they've got dozens of athletes that they are recruiting. They've got a huge pool because they know that only a certain number will respond and follow all the way through, whether it be the decision of the athlete or whether it be the decision of the coach. So they've got to cast their net wide while you're casting your net wide. You think about that, and there's a lot of communication going on. Imagine as coaches are communicating with you as an athlete or as a family, a parent, an athlete, that coach is doing the same thing with many, many other athletes, and you can get lost in the mix. It'll happen less and less the further you are in the process because you are moving up the ladder. But how do you move up the ladder in the coach's rankings? And that whole thing of communication is key. One of the things that I teach is after every season, after every school year, after every test that you take, I'm talking about ACT and SAT, not your weekly biology test, but after these standard tests that they want to get your scores on, every time you hit one of these points, send them an update. It may be very short, maybe your stats from the season. If you're starting a summer season, perhaps it's the schedule for the upcoming season. If you just, as I mentioned, completed the test and you got your scores, send in the scores. These kinds of things just keep feeding coaches information to show that you are still interested. You got to do it on a regular basis. Parents, this is where you are very important in this whole process. Your student athlete is going to be competing and going to school, and there's so many, has a life, a lot of things that are happening in their life, and they're going to need your direction and set out a schedule of ways that you can send updates and keep coaches informed. Sending out updates is got to be a standard part of your process. It has to be. That is the minimum that you should do in order to keep communicating with coaches. Just email those updates. That's one thing. But what can you do to go beyond, to stand out, to make an impression that other families aren't making? What are some of the things that you can do? Well, I want to suggest two of them. One is this. In those schools where are higher on your list, higher in your rankings, and especially ones that are within driving distance, go visit them. Go visit the school, visit the coach. Have the coach have a visual of you, student athlete, person to person, parents, person to person. 3D. This is not email. This isn't a letter. This isn't a video. That's, man, you coming, and 3D. That speaks highly to coaches, that you will take that effort. We're not talking about official visits, but these are visits that you'll take the effort to go and see that coach. That will put in their mind the high level of interest. And that will help you move up in their rankings. Yes, you've got to have the talent. If you don't have the talent, you're going to move down in the rankings. And you want to know from the coach in that whole communication, clear communication, coach, if I am not one of your recruits anymore, please let me know. Do me a favor and let me know. Parents, athletes, you don't want to be chasing down a coach who's really not interested, but is not responding to you or is responding to you in a way that doesn't have that same interest level that they once had. You want to be communicating clearly. That way, you can zero in on those schools where coaches truly are interested. You can narrow it down and zero in on those programs. Visiting schools, handful of schools, important if you can do that. Secondly, phone calls. I know as you're calling these coaches, man, you're going to get voicemail most of the time. However, be persistent. Be the initiator. Your voice in their voicemail is just fine. Go ahead and do that. Not every week, but on a regular basis. Show them that you've got a level of interest that is beyond what other athletes might have. If you do that, coaches do want to recruit talented athletes that have an interest in their school versus athletes that don't. They want you to be committed to their program. They really want you to want to be at that school. They want you to see that it's a good fit, not just athletically, but academically, student life, distance from home, whether it's close or far, depending on what you want. But there's that fit, and the athletic part of it is one piece. That is a huge advantage. Okay, those are a couple things you can do. Visit and call. That's on top of sending the updates. I mentioned something else. I talked about talent, and you got to have the talent. And you want to find out where your talent lies and where your fit is. If you get consistent feedback from coaches as to your talent level, where they see you fitting, whether they see you fitting into their program or not, then you can take that fit and transfer it to other schools that maybe you haven't contacted yet, because you know you could be a good fit for that level of program as well. That's just a side note. You need to be able to enhance and improve your talent level. You got to make that effort. If you really do want an athletic scholarship athlete, you have got to invest in yourself. You've got to become a better athlete. You've got to find, say, a coach that you can spend time with. You can stay after practice and work on some things. Work on those things that are your strengths. I've talked about this, I think, a couple episodes ago. And majoring on your strengths to become a more outstanding athlete, to become stronger. And the results will show. Raise your game. Raise your level. That will get you higher on a coach's ranking. That will help you move up the ladder. You got the athletic part and you've got the communication part. Both of those things are important in the whole process of moving up the ladder. You don't want to get forgotten by coaches. If you don't stay in touch with them, they think you're not interested. And they're not going to chase you down unless you are like a superstar athlete. They're not going to chase you down. You have to take the initiative and continue to do that. And that's how you end up moving up the ladder. Take the initiative in your communication with coaches. Take your initiative in becoming a better athlete. Parent, help your son or daughter do this. Would you do that? Would you promise me that you would do that? Help them. Don't push them, but encourage them. They enjoy their sport. We want to keep it that way and help them in this whole process. That's my advice for you and how you can move up the ladder on a coach's ranking. If you need more information or have some specific questions about your situation, feel free to email me at john@recruitme.com. And make sure you get my free chapter of the Athletic Scholarship Playbook. It's available as a PDF, instant download on my website at recruitme.com. Every Tuesday, a new episode, and that's what's going to happen next week. I'll talk to you then.